Washington, D.C. is often seen as a city of politics. But behind the speeches, votes, and headlines, there is another layer of power quietly shaping outcomes: capital. This is not a story about titles or elected office. It's about ownership, long-term positioning, and the individuals who learned how to operate inside America's most influential ecosystem without ever needing public approval. Some built fortunes through finance, others through media, defense, or real estate. A few transformed access into leverage, and leverage into lasting wealth. This is not a forensic ranking of bank accounts. It's a strategic look at how Black wealth and influence are structured inside Washington's power economy, and why certain figures consistently sit at the center of decisions that shape the country. 6. Barack Obama, the post-presidency empire. We begin our ascent with a man who needs no introduction, but whose financial story is often misunderstood. Most people view Barack Obama as a political figure, but since leaving 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, he has quietly transformed into one of the most savvy media entrepreneurs in the nation's capital. When the Obamas left the White House in 2017, they didn't move back to Chicago. They stayed. They purchased an $8.1 million Tudor mansion in the ultra-exclusive Kalorama neighborhood, sitting right next door to Jeff Bezos and Ivanka Trump. But that house was just the first piece of the puzzle. Barack Obama represents a new kind of DC wealth: brand capital. In the old days, presidents retired to write a memoir and play golf. Obama retired and built a media conglomerate. The numbers are staggering. Shortly after leaving office, Barack and Michelle signed a joint book deal with Penguin Random House, reported to be worth a record-breaking $65 million. That is not an advance. That is a venture capital injection. Then came the pivot to Hollywood. They founded Higher Ground Productions, and instead of shopping scripts around, they signed a massive multi-year production deal with Netflix estimated at over $50 million. They didn't just lend their names to projects, they produced Oscar-winning documentaries like American Factory. They proved that their cultural capital could be converted into hard assets. And let's talk about the speaking circuit. In Washington, talk is cheap, unless you are number 44. Obama reportedly commands up to $400,000 for a single speech to Wall Street firms. Do the math. 1 hour on stage earns him what the President of the United States makes in an entire year. While his net worth is estimated in the $70 million to $100 million range, Obama kicks off this list because he symbolizes the shift in DC power. He proves that in modern Washington, you don't need a government contract to get rich. You just need to own your narrative. But while Obama makes headlines, the next man on our list makes the software that keeps the government running. And he's made hundreds of millions doing it. 5. Earl W. Stafford, the Beltway philanthropist. If you drive around the Beltway, the highway that circles Washington, D.C., you will pass hundreds of nondescript glass buildings. No signs, no logos, just tinted windows. Inside those buildings are the Beltway bandits, the government contractors who supply everything from cybersecurity to janitorial services for the United States government. And one of the kings of this world is Earl W. Stafford. Earl Stafford is the embodiment of the D.C. dream. He started his career in the U.S. Air Force, serving his country with distinction. But when he retired from the military, he didn't just look for a job. He looked for a gap in the market. He realized that the military needed better training simulation technology. They needed systems that could teach soldiers how to detect threats without putting them in actual danger. So, in 1988, he founded Unitech from the basement of his home. For years, it was a grind. But Stafford understood the golden rule of Washington wealth. Reliability is the ultimate currency. If you can deliver for the Department of Defense, they will never let you go. Unitech grew into a juggernaut, providing simulation and training technology not just for the military, but for the Department of Homeland Security and other federal agencies. Stafford built Unitech into a company with over 500 employees. He navigated the complex web of government bureaucracy, security clearances, and federal budgets. Then came the payday. In 2009, Stafford sold Unitech to Lockheed Martin, the largest defense contractor on Earth. The sale price wasn't disclosed publicly, but industry analysts estimated the deal to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Overnight, Earl Stafford went from a successful CEO to one of the wealthiest men in the region. But what he did next is what makes him a legend in the district. Most people buy a yacht. Earl Stafford bought a movement. He launched the Stafford Foundation with a mission to help the least of these. He became famous for the Peebles inaugural project in 2009. When Barack Obama was inaugurated, tickets to the balls and galas were selling for thousands of dollars, completely shutting out the regular people who had canvassed and voted for him. Stafford spent an estimated $1.6 million of his own money to host a massive inaugural ball for disadvantaged citizens, terminally ill patients, and wounded veterans. He gave them the tuxedos, the gowns, the five-star meals, and the dignity of participating in history. Today, Earl Stafford continues to invest in technology and real estate through the Wentworth Group, but his legacy is cemented. He proved that in D.C. you can make a fortune from war, but you can use it to wage peace. 4. Eddie C. Brown, the Warren Buffett of the DMV. We are moving up the ladder. We are leaving the world of government contracts and entering the world of pure capital. If you go a little north of D.C. into the Baltimore-Washington corridor, you will find a man who moves markets with a whisper. He is arguably the greatest stock picker you have never heard of. His name is Eddie C. Brown, and he is the founder of Brown Capital Management. Eddie Brown's story begins in the Jim Crow South, where he was born to a 13-year-old mother in Apopka, Florida. His early life was defined by the kind of poverty that usually crushes ambition. But Brown had a mind for numbers that could not be suppressed. He eventually found his way to IBM as a systems engineer, but he realized his true talent wasn't in fixing computers. It was in fixing portfolios. In 1983, he launched Brown Capital Management in Baltimore. At the time, a black-owned asset management firm was almost unheard of. The financial world was an exclusive club, and it did not look like Eddie Brown. But Brown didn't ask for permission. He didn't ask for set-asides or affirmative action quotas. He simply outperformed everyone else. He developed a strategy of finding exceptional growth companies, small businesses with innovative products that were poised to explode. He bought them when they were small, held them for decades, and watched them turn into giants. One of his most famous plays was buying Microsoft when it was still a relatively young company. He bought Starbucks when it was just a regional coffee chain. Today, Brown Capital Management manages over $14 billion in assets. Let that number sink in. 14 billion. Eddie Brown isn't just rich, he is a steward of massive institutional wealth. His firm manages money for pension funds, endowments, and foundations across the world. When Eddie Brown speaks, Wall Street listens. His personal net worth is kept private, but with a firm that size, collecting management fees year after year, he is easily one of the wealthiest individuals in the entire Mid-Atlantic region. He and his wife, Sylvia, are among the biggest philanthropists in the area. They don't just write checks, they change institutions. They gave $6 million to the Maryland Institute College of Art. They gave $5 million to the Turning the Corner Achievement Program. Eddie Brown represents the old money style of black wealth in the DMV. Quiet, conservative, disciplined. He doesn't need to flash it because his returns speak for themselves. Eddie Brown proved that wealth isn't about working harder. It's about identifying value before anyone else does. If you want to learn the specific investing principles that built billion-dollar portfolios like his, I've tagged a collection of essential investment strategy books right here on the screen. These are the tools the masters use. Click View Products to see them. 3. Art Collins, the developer of dreams. In Washington, D.C., land is power. The district is only 68 square miles. There is no room to sprawl. If you want to build, you have to be smart, you have to be connected, and you have to be ruthless. Enter Art Collins. While he may not have the national fame of a Jay-Z, Art Collins is a titan in the D.C. development game. As the head of the Collins Companies, he has literally reshaped the geography of the Black Mecca. Collins isn't just a builder. He is a visionary who saw value in neighborhoods that others had written off. For decades, Prince George's County, that wealthy black enclave we mentioned earlier, was ignored by high-end developers. They said the market wasn't there. They said luxury wouldn't sell. Art Collins called their bluff. He developed massive projects like National Harbor, a multi-billion-dollar waterfront resort destination just minutes from D.C. While he wasn't the sole developer of the entire harbor, his firm was instrumental in the residential and mixed-use components that turned it into a goldmine. He focused on lifestyle centers, places where people could live, work, and play without ever leaving the development. He understood that the black affluent class in D.C. wanted the same luxury amenities as the white affluent class in Bethesda, but they wanted it in their own communities. His wealth comes from ownership. In real estate, you make money when you build, you make money when you rent, and you make money when you sell. Collins has mastered the entire life cycle. His portfolio includes thousands of residential units and commercial square footage across the Mid-Atlantic. He represents the physical manifestation of black wealth. He builds the very walls that the rest of this list lives behind. But if Art Collins builds the neighborhoods, the next man builds the skylines of 3 different major American cities. He is the most stylish, outspoken, and ambitious real estate mogul in the country. 2. R. Donahue Peebles, the king of real estate. If there is one man who embodies the swagger, the style, and the sheer audacity of black wealth in D.C., it is R. Donahue Peebles. Don Peebles is not just a developer, he is a brand. With a net worth estimated at over $700 million, he is widely recognized as one of the wealthiest black men in the United States. His story starts right here in the district. Peebles didn't start with a trust fund. He started as a page on Capitol Hill. He was a college dropout who worked his way into the D.C. political machine, eventually being appointed to the city's tax appeal board by the legendary Mayor Marion Barry at the age of 24. That appointment was his masterclass. He learned the real estate game from the inside out. He saw how tax assessments worked, how zoning laws could be bent, and where the city was planning to invest next. He made his first millions in D.C. by redeveloping blighted commercial buildings in Anacostia, a historically black and underserved part of the city. When everyone else saw decay, Peebles saw dollars. But Peebles was too big for just one city. He took his D.C. fortune and went national. He famously purchased the Bath Club in Miami, an exclusive, whites-only private club. He bought it, renovated it, and turned it into one of the most prestigious, diverse, and expensive private clubs in Florida. It was a poetic flex. He bought the club that wouldn't have let him in a generation ago. He moved into New York City, taking on the toughest real estate market on the planet. But D.C. remains his power base. The Peebles Corporation has proposed some of the most ambitious projects in the city's history. He fights for the biggest contracts, the tallest buildings, and the most prime locations. Peebles is also a political force. He is a major fundraiser who has the ear of presidents and mayors. He has even flirted with running for mayor of New York City himself. He lives the lifestyle of a true tycoon. We are talking about homes in the Hamptons, penthouses in Miami, and a massive presence in D.C. He writes books on wealth creation. He mentors the next generation. Don Peebles proves that real estate isn't just about bricks and mortar. It's about politics. It's about knowing who to call, when to call them, and how to close the deal before anyone else even knows the building is for sale. But even Don Peebles, with his skyscrapers and his hundreds of millions, has to bow to the master. We have arrived at number 1. The man who didn't just play the game, he invented the league. The first black billionaire in American history. The anchor of D.C. wealth. 1. Robert L. Johnson, the billionaire blueprint. There are rich men. There are wealthy men. And then there is Bob Johnson. Robert L. Johnson is the undisputed king of capital in Washington, D.C., with a net worth that has fluctuated between $600 million and over $1 billion depending on the market. He is the patriarch of black business in America. His story is the stuff of legend. In 1979, Bob Johnson had a radical idea. He looked at the cable television landscape and saw hundreds of channels: news, sports, movies, weather. But he saw nothing for black people. He took a $15,000 personal loan and a $500,000 investment from media tycoon John Malone, and he launched Black Entertainment Television, BET. For 2 decades, he built BET from a tiny operation airing old music videos into a cultural force. He defined the visuals of hip-hop and R&B. He gave Black comedians a stage. He created a platform that united Black America. Then, in 2001, he made the deal that shook the world. He sold BET to Viacom for $3 billion. In that moment, Robert L. Johnson became the first African-American billionaire. He shattered the ultimate glass ceiling. But here is why he is number 1 on this list. Most people would have taken that $1 billion, bought an island, and disappeared. Bob Johnson doubled down. He stayed in the D.C. area, specifically Bethesda, Maryland, and launched the RLJ companies. This wasn't a retirement hobby. It was an asset management empire. He founded RLJ Lodging Trust, a real estate investment trust that bought up hotels across the country. We are talking about Marriott's, Hilton's, Hyatt's. At one point, he was one of the largest hotel owners in the country. He bought an NBA team. He paid $300 million for the Charlotte Bobcats, now the Hornets, becoming the first Black majority owner of a major sports franchise. He later sold it to Michael Jordan for a massive profit. He invested in banking. He invested in car dealerships. He invested in film studios. Bob Johnson's genius is that he understands regulatory capitalism. He knows how to operate in sectors where government policy and business intersect, which is why DC is his perfect habitat. He moves with a level of access that is unmatched. When he wants a meeting, the White House clears its schedule. His lifestyle is quieter now, but the footprint is massive. His fingerprints are on almost every major sector of Black wealth creation. He didn't just open the door for guys like Jay-Z and Diddy. He took the door off the hinges. Robert L. Johnson is the richest Black man in Washington, D.C. because he realized early on that culture is valuable, but equity is king. What these stories reveal is that power in Washington isn't only written into laws. It's embedded in ownership, relationships, and the ability to operate across politics, business, and capital at the same time. Not every figure here is the wealthiest by spreadsheet math, but each represents a different pathway to influence inside one of the most competitive cities on Earth. This is how durable power is built. Quietly, strategically, over decades. If you value deep, strategic breakdowns of Black wealth, influence, and the systems behind them, make sure to subscribe to Black Status. More stories like this are coming next, and the next chapter is already unfolding.